D-backs in Texas sweep. Phillies are the Braves' daddy, and Houston is inevitable. Let's talk about it, Will. What's going on, guys? Welcome to episode 52 of Bringing the Heat. My name's Cody Pite. With me, as always, the four-seam fastball co-host, Will Sism. Will, happy Saturday, my man. How are ya?
Doing well. There's a cool, crisp air. Right now, it's getting cooler. Leaves are changing. Feels like playoff baseball. And
yes.
Man, do we have some fun stuff to talk about today? We're getting close to the fall classic.
Dude, we are, man. I was a little heartbroken because you get to looking at it. There's only two games a day max now, you know?
Yep.
So we're down to our final four. I don't know that anybody had these four on their bingo card. Maybe a couple of them. But, yeah, man, I'm excited to dive in. So let's do it. What do you think?
Let's do this.
Here we go, brother. All right, let's look at our first series, the Texas Rangers and the Baltimore Orioles, the number one seeded Baltimore Orioles. Texas took them down 3-0. Let's talk about how it happened. Well, game one, the Rangers won 3-2. Texas and Baltimore traded runs early. Santander and Young both went deep. Both teams emptied their pens, and the Orioles threatened late, reaching base before an out was recorded in the 7th, 8th, and 9th innings, so putting that bullpen to the test for Texas. But a missed hit-and-run call sunk the Orioles late, and that is what took them down in that game one. Game two, the bats came along for the Rangers. Orioles came out hot. They scored the first two runs. Grayson Rodriguez looked okay in that first inning, but he only was able to record two more outs after that, Will. He gave up 5 earned runs in 1.2. Mitch Garver hit the grand slam in the third to make it 9-2. The Birds battled back, scratching across 8 runs total, but Texas kept their foot on the gas pedal, taking a 2-0 lead in the series. Of course, this is the one where we had a little bit of Major League Baseball history there, Will. You had Corey Seager with 5 walks. They didn't want anything to do with this guy, man. Game 3, Rangers go back home with a chance to take the series. 7-1 victory. Adolis Garcia went 2 for 4 with a home run and 3 RBIs. Corey Seager 1 for 2 with another 2 walks. They are scared of this man. They banged the ball once again. And Nathan Eovaldi, 7 innings pitched, was absolutely nails. 1 earned run. And that is how they did it. They swept the Orioles, and that is the first sweep in the Adley-Rutschman era, Will. What you got, man?
Yeah, man, it's a bad time for that to happen, right?
No kidding.
But, man, we kind of talked about it. The Rangers are the ultimate Jekyll and Hyde team, and I'll tell you what, man, they have found it, at least right now, in dismantling the Rays, totally taking apart the Orioles. I mean, it was almost like the Orioles just couldn't get going in this series, and Texas was just really good. And, I think the key to Baltimore was, get ahead, get it to the 5th or 6th inning, and turn it over to the bullpen, and they just couldn't do it. Texas felt like jumped on them early and often, pretty much every game, and I don't know. I think at the end of the day, obviously Baltimore had an incredible year.
Yeah.
But I think the pitching kind of caught up with them. I think the layoff did not really do them any favors either. But, man, you got to give it to the Rangers. The Rangers were just the better team.
Yeah.
And hats off to them. It's that lineup is scary good right now, and the pitching is plenty good enough for sure.
Yeah. Oh, man. I tell you what, we talked about it in the previews for the Rangers, right? We said they gotta make it to where that bullpen doesn't matter. And so far in 5 games in October, that's exactly what they've done. Bradish looked okay in game 1. He went 4.2. Like I said, though, Texas and Baltimore, they knew they had that off day following game 1. And so it seemed like they were going to use their bullpen arms. I mean, they were going to empty those pens, and that is what it is. But in game 2 and game 3, I mean, I recorded 5 outs, and then I think Kramer, he made it all of what, like 2-ish innings, and gave up a lot of runs. You're just not. It's hard, especially when you're down 2-0. You go up, you go down 6-0. I mean, you're officially like sweating every moment. I mean, even just walking into Game 3 knowing you have to pretty much be perfect. They were not able to do so, man. And we talked about it. Maybe the lights were a little bright for Baltimore. Did you see anything in that first game with that missed hit and run call? I think it came out later that it was actually on Aaron Hicks, who was the batter. And it seemed like, Gunner took off and just not a great jump. So I was kind of curious watching it. But what were your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I remember that play. I mean, that's obviously a momentum play. I get that they were trying to make something happen there. But for sure, I mean, that's potentially a game changer. And at the end of the day, though, I just think that the series was so lopsided
Yeah.
that I mean, as good as Texas played and kind of as off as it felt like Baltimore was, yeah, I mean, you can pick and choose a few momentum changing type plays, but
Yeah.
man, Texas was just so good. They're just on a roll right now. So,
Yeah.
again, Baltimore had a great season, but man, I think it's I don't know. I think maybe it's a wake up call for them to maybe try to beef up the starting pitching rotation a little bit in the off season, and
Yeah.
let's run it back from there and see what happens.
They got the young core. They have the young core. But it's a formula we're going to end up talking about. It's not the same game when you're talking 162, and then you dive into these 3-game sets or these 5-game sets. We're fixing to talk about a couple 7-game sets later in the show. So it's a different brand of baseball. You have to play it different, and they had a lot of. I mean, we're going to talk about Minnesota Twins here in a second, but kind of like the rotation that Minnesota was throwing out there. A lot of like solid 2 or 3 guys, but you didn't have that one guy. They didn't have Nathan Eovaldi going 7 innings pitched. So
Correct.
It is going to be interesting. What about the AL East going? What'd they go? Will
0-3 in all the series. Well, yeah, 0-7.
They didn't win a game. I mean, so pretty tough for the East. Couple East fans here, man. I was definitely surprised, but
it was surprising. I mean, obviously Texas took care of 2 out of the 3, and then
this is true.
Toronto was just kind of an enigma. I don't get them. We'll save that conversation for another episode. But
I think you go to Minnesota, you got Vladdy. He's still
definitely
waving.
a bad showing though for the East after the regular season they had.
No doubt, man. No doubt. Okay. That's all I got on that one, man. Let's dive into this next one. The hat that I'm donning, the Houston Astros, go into a set with the Minnesota Twins, division-winning Central Twins. Game 1, Astros took it 6-4. Playoff JV showed up for the Stros, going scoreless over 6 innings. We watched that game together, Will. There was a lot of ducks on the pond early, but the Minnesota Twins could not get the big hit. Jordan led the way offensively with 2 home runs and 3 RBIs for the Astros. The Twins made it a little closer late with Polanco hitting that 3-run shot, and then Rolls-Royce Lewis hit the solo homer, but Presley did what Presley does. I think he's 13 for 13 now in his career in the playoffs, so that's pretty freaking wild, man. Put Houston up 1-0. Game 2, we got a little bit of fight out of the Twins. A 6-2 win for them. Postseason Correa continued to shine. He went 3 for 4 with 2 doubles, 1 walk, 3 RBIs, and all the swagger that a man could want. I mean, my goodness gracious. The real story, Pablo Lopez was masterful. He allowed no runs, 7 innings pitched. Framber, very rocky start. Jordan went late deep to keep Houston, no shutout in Houston. Okay, they put him on the board, but it was a little too late. And let's see. Fun fact: Correa up to 3rd in the RBI list all time for the playoffs. This guy still got some years. 5 more on this contract, and who knows after that. So we might be looking. I think the most all time is Bernie Williams with 80. So he's 17 away from that. Feels like a virtual certainty if Minnesota can figure out some sticks, man. Speaking of sticks, Game 3, Astros win 9-1. Houston brought their lumber as they traveled to Minnesota. Jordan went 3 for 5 with a double and a home run. And then Jose Abreu. Man, this is a guy who had a pretty tough year in Houston, but he's making up for it right now. 2 home runs, 2 for 5 with 2 home runs. And then our third host, we're still waiting on him to show up. and clock in. But Christian Javier, really great start, 9 strikeouts over 5 scoreless, and the Astros took care of business. In Game 4, the Astros with a chance to go back to the ALCS for the 7th time. Here's what they did. 3-2 win. Jose Urquidy stepped up in a big way, allowing 1 run over 5 2/3 innings. And Jose Abreu went yard once again. Dude, they're just, it is like the most certain thing in sports right now. It feels like that the Astros make it to the semifinals in baseball. What's going on, dude?
Yeah, I mean, they were impressive in the series. It looked like they were the one team that, for whatever reason, that the layoff actually helped. Minnesota just seemed kind of outmatched, to be honest. I think in order for Minnesota to have even had a prayer in this series was if they got basically 3 or 4 outings like Pablo Lopez gave them.
Mm-hmm.
And that's probably just unrealistic. Minnesota just doesn't have any bats, man. Besides Royce Lewis, and obviously Correa came up with a good few key hits, but they just don't have any bats. And we'll save this for another episode, but they're giving me major Brewers vibes, and I don't like it.
Yeah.
But hats off to Houston. They were by far the better team. You mentioned it. It felt like Minnesota, in order for them to have a chance, other than their pitching just dominating, they had to take advantage of those chances they had in Game 1.
Yeah.
And they just kind of let those slip away. And once Astros took control after Game 1, other than Pablo Lopez throwing a gem, the Astros controlled it. And so, Texas and Houston is going to be a lot of fun. We'll obviously talk about that here in just a little bit, but yeah, hats off to Houston for sure.
Yeah, I don't know. When you watch the Twins play, I don't feel like they necessarily played too bad outside of Game 3, but you just got to be perfect right now when you're playing Houston. And I would venture to say, you mentioned the layoff not affecting the Astros as much as the other teams. We're going to talk about that when we finish the recap, because I don't know. They're the only team out of the bye to make it out. Yeah. And it's hard to say that anything other than experience plays a role. And so, dude, they're just really good. And I don't even feel like this was their best showing. We're going to talk about and give predictions on the Lone Star Showdown here in a little bit, but I almost think they're going to have to step it up the way Texas is playing. They're going to have to step it up another gear to hang with the Rangers, it looks like. Predictions-wise, peeling back real quick, the first one we had picked, I think you went Baltimore in 4, I went Baltimore in 5, so a couple of misses there. Mm-hmm. We split this one, though, okay? You said Houston in 5, I said Houston in 3, so it was Houston in 4.
Yeah.
Pretty awesome. Jordan, best hitter right now, potentially, left on the American. Dude, I don't know, though, because you're over there, you got, Seager has been nasty.
Seager can go blow for blow with Jordan potentially, and man, just Texas is the whole lineup of Texas right now is just clicking.
Yeah.
And that's, if you're a Rangers fan, that gives you a lot of hope and a lot of optimism going into the series for sure.
Yeah, I'm excited to dive in a little bit more. Let's see here, Will. Anything else? I want to make sure I'm not missing anything. 7th straight year to the ALCS. That's absolutely bonkers. Yeah, dude, it was just kind of cut and dry. They just played better. Got to tip your cap if you're in Minnesota. And if you're at Minnesota, man, in that division you're in, you do feel like you could be back potentially next year.
Absolutely.
They got a lot of young guys, like we talked about. Obviously, Royce Lewis, Eddie Julian. He had a big home run in Game 4 that really made it close. So let's see what happens. I think Sonny Gray's gone. I'm pretty sure he's a free agent. They're gonna have to get some bats, and they're gonna have to feel. He had a pretty solid year for them. And Joe Ryan maybe pulled him early in Game 4. He only went 2 innings. It was kind of an odd. This kind of be like a trend here I'm seeing out of these teams. When they get desperate, they go to a script. They lose their feel.
And I don't like it. We can obviously take more time on that topic on another day too. But I don't love that.
No.
But like finishing your thought on the Twins, I love Royce Lewis. I do like Julian. I think he's a solid player. I don't think he's a superstar, but I think he's a solid player.
Mm-hmm.
But man, if you're Minnesota, you have got to have somebody like Byron Buxton like on the field. Like that lineup though, that lineup is so I don't want to use an insulting word.
Yeah.
But that lineup is just very, very thin, to put it nicely. I mean, and Correa didn't do much all year in the regular season, and when you're relying on him to be your best hitter, like that's tough.
Yeah.
I mean,
he was lights out in the playoffs, and but you're right, it can't just be him. But legitimately, he in the wild card, I think he was batting 7th. By the end of the ALC or ALDS rather, they had him up in the 4th spot.
Yeah.
Just because it's October and this guy does this thing, but he had a couple really solid hits that were hit right at people. And of course he went off a few games, but
I mean, but if you compare the lineup to Houston or Texas, I mean, it is no comparison. I mean, you gotta if you're the Twins, you have got to do something if you're wanting to compete with the heavyweights, man, in the AL.
Yep. Yeah, dude. That's why I liked him in 3. Is I just felt like that offense would be a little much. I mean, even with the Twins' really awesome bullpen. But we will we'll talk more about the Twins in the offseason, and we're going to talk about the Astros here in a little bit. Will moving on to the National League. Maybe my favorite series to watch. I don't know. They were all pretty good. I had a great time. I have a great time watching baseball. I mean, put me in front of a TV with a little bit of baseball on it. You're not gonna hear me complain there, Will. The Phillies and the Braves went at it. We're gonna run it back, dude, because the Phillies took the series again this year, 3-1. Let's talk about how that went down. Game 1, Phillies win it 3-0. Rob Thompson pushed all the right buttons, and the bats did just enough against the Cy Young hopeful Spencer Strider to lock up the 3-0 win. Craig Kimbrell, the 2022 Heartburn Player of the Year, right? I mean, if we'd have had it, it'd have been him. He closed out the game in the 9th, and the big play from this game, the 3rd run was scored on the catcher's interference. Will, did you see that by chance?
I did, yes.
It's pretty wild, man. I guess Sean Murphy heard it.
Yeah.
And I've seen people break it down where you can see the bat tip the glove, but when I watched it live, I didn't think he hit the thing at all. But hey,
you can definitely tell it though if you're the catcher.
I would imagine that does not feel good. That is the bummer for sure. Didn't end up mattering though. Hey, game 2, Braves punch back. They win 5-4. Wheeler for the Phillies cruised through 5, but after some lackadaisical play by Trey Turner, booting the throw from the right fielder, and the 6th allowed the first run to score, and then a 2-run shot from Travis d'Arnaud in the 7th, the stage was set for my man Austin Riley to deliver the one-armed lead for the Braves. Man, did you see that shot? 2-run shot to left field with one hand. 5-4. The Phillies would threaten in the top of the 9th, but a 8-5-3 double play, which is the first of its kind, closed the door for the first win of October in Atlanta. Dude, did you watch that play?
I was watching it.
It was nuts. Okay,
it was
finish.
And it was a great play. I have no problems with what Harper did, but it was just an unbelievable play by Michael Harris and the rest of the Braves.
He's insane. Okay, I need to stop breaking so we can all talk about it at one time. But, dude, this was my favorite series. I was texting you just the whole time. Game 3, the Phillies take it 10-2. Phillies offense came alive in Citizens Bank. Harper and Castellanos both hit 2 home runs apiece. At that point, Nola just rolled. I mean, he's going to do what he's going to do in October, and he pushed the best team in baseball to the brink. And then in Game 4, Phillies took it 3-1, just like they took the series. The Brave test their ace. Spencer Strider was preserving their season, but he was unable to do so as Castellanos answered the bell once again with 2 solo blasts, and then Trey Turner added one of his own. And they kind of did some backwards maneuvering of the bullpen. Former Red Sox Matt Strom closed it out. I was like, what world are we living in? what a series and what a performance, just A to Z for the Phillies. What'd you like? What'd you didn't? Talk to me about it.
Yeah, what a series. I mean, here was kind of my takeaway. The Phillies really dominated game two, and a few mistakes let the Braves back in it, and obviously Michael Harris made that great play that you referred to end up winning that game for the Braves. But man, the Phillies honestly should have swept this series.
Yeah.
Playoff Zach Wheeler, man, was incredible in game two. But man, that just everything in Philly right now looks to be like firing on all cylinders.
Yeah.
The starting pitching looks great. Even Ranger Suarez looked pretty good when he was in there.
Mm-hmm.
That lineup looks scary. Like on paper, when we saw the Phillies coming into the season, and we were like, "Ooh,
Mm-hmm.
that could be a problem. Ooh, that could be a problem."
Yeah.
This is what it's looking like right now.
Yep.
And man, and that crowd, I tell you what, man, Arizona, they're walking into a like a rock concert at Citizens Bank, and so it'll be really interesting to see how a young D-backs team handles that. We'll obviously talk about that here in just a little bit, but hats off to Philadelphia, man. They just they really took it to Atlanta, and I don't really want to hear much about the layoff affecting Atlanta. Because Philly was just that good, man. Philly would have beat just about anybody in that series, and they are just firing on all cylinders right now.
Yeah, dude. I'm glad you brought up what you said about Game 2 and Zach Wheeler, because he was electric, and it kind of gets lost because of what happened afterwards. He went. I had it pulled up here, family. Let's see. He went all of 6.1. He had 10 Ks. I think he struck out like the first six batters.
Yep.
I mean, he looked like locked in. They get that 4-0 lead, and you think, we're gonna be going back to the bank.
Yep.
And then imagine what happens if they hold on that lead. And then it's 10-2 with. I mean, it.
Right.
I don't know, dude. It's like the series started and Atlanta never really showed up. Going back to Game 2, that was like the big exciting one for me, though. We talked about it, and you texted me, and you just said, I don't understand why Hoffman's pitching to Riley here.
Yeah, I didn't like that.
It was a very interesting. It was a 3-2 count that he took yard, and to me, with a guy, he was on first or second. I cannot remember. I want to say he's on second.
Yes.
And I just didn't like the pitch. It's like he threw what essentially was, and it might not have been on purpose, and this totally happens, but it was a hanging breaking ball. And I was like, keep it tight and live with the walk on the breaking ball, or throw your fastball, which he'd already swung through a couple times. So that was my big takeaway. Another big thing was Trey Turner booting that ball. And
Yes.
Acuna, I mean, you got to give him credit for the heads-up play to know, hey, I'm running home. And that's all he's done all year, is just be electric and locked in. And this dude, he's a guy. He's just a guy. He's awesome. And yeah, dude, that was like you texted me after the game and said that could end up haunting Philly if they don't come back and win the series. And I mean, luckily for them, they go back home and it's like they get a power up.
Yep.
I don't even know what that is, but they are just Phillies fans cheer like they know they're going to win the World Series. It's my favorite home venue to watch.
I agree.
Even the Astros, which I'm rooting for on the American League side. But I don't think anybody beats that atmosphere. I would love to go to a game in Philly. It's absolutely nuts. Yeah, I don't know, dude. Not much to say other than Harp's gonna harp, and Nick Castellanos, he wants the World Series ring, and he's playing like it. He is making up for the performance he had last year, which was below par, above par, whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever means not good.
Yeah.
It was a rough go, and he's cranking them out, man. First player ever to hit multi-home runs in back-to-back games in the playoffs.
It's going to take something to knock off this Phillies team the way they're playing.
I agree with you. Anything else before we move on?
Let's talk D-backs Dodgers.
Let's do it, baby. D-backs It's the snake tattoo series.
How about that prediction? Wow, I couldn't believe it when you said it, and I was like, "Holy crap!"
We were together on Saturday night when that game was going on, and we had made it. Yeah, we made it back with food, and so we were all upstairs eating, and I was grabbing something, and I see. Let me just read about it because it's absolutely nuts. Game 1, the Diamondbacks take it 11-2. Clayton Kershaw recorded a singular out in what would be his only playoff start. He gave up 6 runs. Now the first ball was a laser. I think it was 118 off the bat, and it caught Outman. I mean, right in the glove. Should have caught it. It should have been an error. It was called a hit. It was a double, and that's how the game started. Was Ketel Marte absolutely lacing a ball. But it was a lovely foreshadowing for what they did the rest of that first inning and second inning. So Clayton leaves after 0.1 innings pitched. He gave up 6 runs. That's 162 ERA for anybody keeping score at home. D-backs, I know, dude. D-backs didn't let up though. They scored 3 in the second. It was 9-0 before the LA fans made it to their seats.
Yeah.
I imagine coming to that game and you hit a little traffic and you get there a little late and you sit down and you're like, there's a typo on that scoreboard.
Right.
I've missed something. Absolutely nuts. And then game 2 and game 3, we got a couple 4-2 D-back wins. Let's talk about the first one. It was a 4-2 win. Rookie Bobby Miller unable to make it out of the second inning.
Yeah.
Giving up 3 in the first. Zach Gowen grinded out a gritty 5.1 innings pitch performance. Gave up 2 runs, but it was enough with that bullpen that was nails for Arizona. They were perfect in 3.2 innings. And Sewald, what an addition from Seattle. Yeah. He has looked great in the playoffs. So now we're going up 2-0. We're going back to Arizona. History was made in the third in this game 3 as the Diamondbacks hit the first back-to-back home runs ever in the playoffs. And I don't know if you saw the fourth one, Will. Gabriel Moreno, he is turning into the best player in that trade.
Yeah,
remember it was Gabby Moreno and Lourdes Gurriel
for our show.
That's exactly right. So I don't know if you saw this. Moreno hit one to right field, wrapped it just foul on the foul pole. He ran around. They called it a home run. They reviewed it, said it's not a home run. Yeah. Next pitch, home run to left field, no doubt. It was absolutely insane. Off our main man, Lance Lynn. Now, shout out to Curtis Grandison. He does a great job for TBS.
Yeah.
He said, listen, LA wants a chance. Lance got to keep it in the yard. He gave up 4 home runs in a row. The only good news is they were 4 solo shots.
Right.
But other than that, pretty tough. That's all Arizona would need, though, as the bullpen. And then our main man, Brandon Pfaadt, who got roughed up in the wild card series. But really, I mean, he looked great in 4.2 innings. They held the Dodgers to 2 runs, and they swept the division champs. They are advancing to the championship series for the first time since 2007. Big note I have written down here. Mookie and Freddie, 1 for 21. And the one hit was the infield single. Dude, you want to talk about team not showing up?
It's hard to
believe.
What
did you see? It is. It's absolutely. It's hard to fathom.
Yeah.
With the amount of talent.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. This was as shocking as it gets to me, quite honestly. We both talked about, I mean, I know, and hats off to you for predicting 3-0 Arizona. I'm still amazed. But I will say, though, even in last week's episode, I was like, Arizona definitely has a path here, right? Yeah. It wasn't like, Dodgers are just going to just destroy them, Yeah. But I was just shocked how this series went down. It was almost like when Arizona jumped on Clayton Kershaw for, 6 runs in that first inning in game 1. Mm-hmm. It was almost like the Dodgers were just in shell shock mode somehow the rest of the series, and they never broke out of it. Yeah. The bats weren't working. The pitching obviously wasn't working. Nothing was working. Mm-hmm. And, I tell you what, give all the credit in the world to Arizona, though. They were fearless. Yep. And they were the better team, obviously. I mean, there was no question. Yep. And I tell you what, they're running into a different animal in Philadelphia now, but
Yeah.
I tell you what, this feels like a launching pad moment for Arizona's franchise, though. You've got a lot of, blossoming talent in that organization, and I feel like they're a year or two early.
Mm-hmm.
But, man, they are in the NLCS, and congratulations to them. And I tell you what, man, when you've got Zach Gallen as your number one and Merrill Kelly as your two and a couple of those guys in their lineup, you've got a shot.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
so, but I'm just amazed that this series went down the way it did, and LA just didn't show up.
No.
And I wonder if Dave Roberts is gonna get serious heat.
Yeah.
And I really think that this almost also seals the deal that they're going to be, not that they weren't, but I think that they're going to probably make even more aggressive offers at somebody like Shohei in the offseason.
Yeah. I think that's a great call.
I think we're going to have a ripple effect because of this. Because if you're the Dodgers, you can't just say, oh, Walker Buehler's coming back, we'll be fine.
Yeah.
Not when you get beat like that.
Yeah. Dustin May, Gonsolin. I mean, they had a playoff rotation on the IL, but guess what? They have known about that since the deadline. You go out and you pick up a guy like Lance Lynn, and everybody thinks they're going to do their, throw the Dodger pixie dust, and they're going to shape up and pitch well. Honestly, I got kind of vibes. I love what you said about that start being so awful. It was hard to break out of. I felt the same way watching Game 2 with the Rangers and the Orioles when they were up, when they were down 9-2, and they did bring it closer in that game, but really it was 11-5 until the ninth inning.
Right.
It was like mentally they went into Game 3 and they had a day off in between, so it's pretty unlikely this actually happened. But this is what it felt like watching it. Mentally they went in and they were still down.
Yep.
And I feel like, when you go and you have a guy like Merrill Kelly, who just does the job in Game 1, and then you have Zach Gallen in Game 2. So you're down 9-0. That's your welcome to the playoff moment. And then you have to go and face a guy like Zach Gallen in Game 2. It's hard to say with this group of veterans and people have been there before. Honestly, though, you look at it, they won 111 games last year and got bounced in 4 games by upstart San Diego team. It's the same story, a little bit different cast in the antagonist group if you're an LA fan.
Yeah.
You got to think.
Here was the thing, though, with the way this Dodgers team was constructed.
Yeah.
I get that pitching staff had injuries, and that is what it is. But we knew going into the series that lineup was going to have to score a bunch of runs because we both felt that starting pitching for LA, even with Kershaw going in Game 1, that was a huge question mark going into the series.
Yeah.
And man, they were bad.
Yeah. When we talked about it, that's why I said 3-0, is because I thought, hey, if they jump on Kershaw, and that's what I was talking about when I brought this whole thing up and said, let me read about it. You guys were upstairs eating. I'm grabbing something. I see that they're taking Kershaw out, and all of a sudden I'm like, this could very much swing my way prediction-wise because they are officially not going to have the upper hand in the pitching matchup.
Right.
There's an argument, I guess, if you want to say Lance Lynn or Brandon Pfaadt, but honestly, I would take Pfaadt and his stuff over Lynn. Lynn is just all year flat. I mean, he's had a few good starts when he came over, but I don't know, dude. Switching gears real quick before we get to predictions, I got another top 5 teams record-wise in the playoffs. Okay, go like this. It was Atlanta, L.A., Baltimore, Tampa, Milwaukee. They went 1-12 in the playoffs.
Unreal.
It is nuts. It's absolutely nuts. So here's the question I want to ask. Do you think we need a change with the playoff format?
I think it's a fair question. Here's how I would like to see it.
Okay.
I honestly don't like the 3-game series for the whatever you want to call it, the first round, the wild card round. I would honestly rather them just go back to the one game.
Mm-hmm.
Give the higher seed the home game. That's fine.
Mm-hmm.
Because a 3-game series, man, it is so short still,
Yeah.
and these teams that do have the, let's call it a bye,
Mm-hmm.
they're just waiting.
Yes.
And I will. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, I'm sure that it was a factor to an extent as far as the layoff goes.
Yeah.
But it also allows these wild card teams that advance to get super hot, like you're
Correct.
seeing with Arizona, like you're seeing with Texas.
Yeah.
And so yes, to answer your question, I would like to see it go back to the one game,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, let's go from there. And I would like to also see a 7-game series.
That's what I'm
Because of
seeing
that.
kind of
Like-
suggested.
Like
yeah.
one game for the wild card teams, winner
Yeah.
advances, and then let's go 7 games in all the rest of the series.
Yep. Hey, that's what I'm seeing a lot of. I haven't landed yet on this because we've only been doing it for 2 years, right? Here's something interesting. Shout out to my sweet mother-in-law. Sent me this stat. And I was like, this is awesome. 7 of 8, the wild card series, have been sweeps. So I guess it's an argument for the one game thing. I think the Houston Astros, and I hate to say it, but it is what it is. They disproved the whole. I understand in game 1, you come back, you're a little rusty. I understand that.
Yeah.
But in game 2, I mean, you played yesterday. And I mean, I get momentum and how important that is. I really do. But there are teams, I'm just going to, Homersville right now, okay? Let me talk about the 2018 Red Sox. They obviously didn't have the super long layoff, but they came in, they had to play a red-hot Yankees team, 100 wins, and then they beat a Astros team with like 104 wins that year. And they had, I mean, not only like a little layoff there, but a couple weeks where they weren't really playing meaningful baseball. So at some point, I think if you want to look at it, you can say, let's just take the Braves series for example. Like Max Fried was a little wild in game 2, got the job done. That's the game they won. I guess bad example, but Strider gave up some long balls, and then Bryce Elder got crushed.
Yeah.
I don't know, dude. I understand it, and I feel like the evidence is there. I just want to see this format a few more years before I make, because I feel like it's such a snap. We haven't seen them go to game 3 that often,
Yeah.
So maybe the answer is if everybody sweeps, we shouldn't have had that 2-day break. You push them up, but I understand why you can't do that. I mean, you sell tickets. I don't know, dude. I think it'd be too quick. Which baseball? We've talked about this, very reactionary sport. But I think the Astros kind of disproved the whole bye week thing is.
I think the Astros are an outlier, though. I mean, like
Yeah.
that team is so used to being in the playoffs. That team is so solid. I don't think Minnesota was that good. Like, I think there was a lot of things that play into the Astros' favor in that series.
Mm-hmm.
And I just think that the experience level on that whole franchise and Dusty Baker, like, I think you give the Astros 2 weeks off and they'd figure out a way to still be fine, But I don't know. At the end of the day, the best teams, hands down, won these series.
Yeah.
And so, whether it was a 1-game series, a 3-game series beforehand, whatever, heck, who knows? It might not have changed any of the outcomes. But in my opinion, I just honestly think a 3-game series is still so short that you might as well just do one.
Sure.
And I just the reason why I say a 7-game series across the board is because I think more often than not in a 7-game series, the better team wins.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas in a 5-game series, it's still a pretty, like, there's enough time to make up ground.
Yeah.
But in a 5-game series, it still feels pretty short.
Well, yeah, and if your team is constructed to where you have like 2 good starters, like Arizona,
yeah,
and we'll see what they do in the 7-game set with Philly, but we haven't seen their 4th starter yet. Like, we know Houston's 4th starter. We know
Yeah.
We don't really know Texas's, and Philly we don't really know, but you don't get the depth aspect as much in a 5-game set.
Right.
I don't necessarily hate it, and I'm with you that the layoff's weird. I just
Yeah.
want to see, give me a couple more years, and then
Yeah,
you know.
I'm willing to go with it one more year, but if we
Yeah.
get basically the same thing next year, especially like 2 games and the wild card series is over, and then if you see some of the bye teams just don't look right, I think it needs to be tweaked at that point. But let's give it another year.
Let's do it. Let's do it. Hey, speaking of let's do it, let's talk about these championship series.
Yeah.
Because Will, I don't think you could say to anybody yourself. Let's try it though. What do you think of these series?
It's gonna be lit.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. I don't know if you guys listened. The last episode 51, Will dropped that little sound bite. It said, "Let me grab that real quick," and so that's a forever thing now. We're gonna just it's gonna be lit. So let's talk about it. Roscoe's with me. Roscoe's saying, "Preach it, Cody." Hey, League Championship Series. Let's talk about the AL first. The Texas Rangers and the Houston Astros. My goodness, so many storylines. You got Dusty Baker versus Bruce Bochy. You got the Rangers. They're 5-0 in the postseason. Houston's only one of the top 2 seeds to advance and defeat the bye week. Houston won the season series 9-4. A little bit of a landslide there. But here is what we know diving in. JV, if it's I think the title of the article was, if it's not broke, don't fix it. He'll go game 1. And then I think I saw, I'm going to verify real quick, it looks like Valdez. They penciled him in even after his rough go. He's going to be the 2 guy. As far as for Texas, what I'm seeing currently is Jordan Montgomery. I had read there was a little bit of rumblings it might be Nathan Eovaldi. He did just pitch, but the layoff's been long enough. So he'll probably go game 2. Dude, thoughts on this series?
Oh man, this is gonna be a great series. I think. Obviously, these teams know each other so well. They've played each other so many times over the years, especially
this year.
Yeah.
Remember? There was a little tussle with Marcus Semien after he got hit by a pitch.
Yeah, I do remember that. And then he hit a home run.
Correct.
So, yeah, these two teams know each other so well. They're both playing very, very well right now, too, which makes it that much more exciting. Texas's starting rotation starting to get healthy. I think Max Scherzer might be available.
He says he's good to go. I don't know what that means. I don't know where he gets, deployed.
Yeah, we'll see. So that could be obviously helpful for Texas if he's able to, give him a few key innings. I think this is just going to be an incredible series. I think it's going to go back and forth. I think for Houston, I think a key for them is to keep the games close. Okay. And what I mean by that, don't let the Rangers just bull rush you like they did Baltimore and Tampa. Yeah. Because Baltimore and Tampa really didn't even have a chance to really test that bullpen, which I think is still the Achilles heel for Texas.
Yep.
And so if Houston can kind of keep it close throughout the first, 5, 6, 7 innings, even if Texas has a lead, like they don't feel super comfortable, Mm-hmm. So I think that's going to be a key for Houston is, obviously get ahead if you can, but at least keep it close. Yeah. And also for Houston, I think a big key is playoff Christian Javier back because, you have to feel pretty good about it, even though Justin Verlander hasn't been quite the same pitcher as he was the last year especially. You have to feel pretty confident that he's going to give you a quality start whenever he goes out there. Mm-hmm. I think Framber will be okay as well. He's just too good to lay too many eggs.
Yeah.
But if Christian Javier is that playoff guy that we've seen the past year, that's a game changer. And so that's kind of what I'm looking for in the series. And obviously, can Texas's lineup keep up the pace that they've been just trouncing everybody so far?
Right.
I tell you, man, who's a difference maker and it's amazing to watch. Evan Carter,
Yep.
dude, that guy is legit. Like,
He's living his best life.
there's a lot of people outside of Texas right now that don't really know who he is, but watch this guy play. He looks like man, you talk about a cornerstone player to really build around over the next few years, man. He looks great. Seager's awesome. Simeon. Garcia, like I said in the Baltimore series, can Garcia get timely hits? He's going to strike out. Okay, that's just who he is. But can he get some timely hits to drive into key runs, maybe hit a couple of home runs in the series that flips the game? But, man, this is going to be an awesome series.
Yeah, I'm super excited about it. Hey, I was just combing through. This is what else we know. It looks like Nate Doggy Dog is going to go in game 2. Yeah. So I was doing a little bit of research. Doesn't look like there's too much history, which kind of surprised me because Jordan Montgomery also pitched for the Yankees.
Right.
Not a lot of history with these Astros, though. 3 guys have seen him. Abreu, 14 at-bats. He's had 4 hits. Nothing spectacular. No home runs. And then you got 4 for 14. You got Altuve, 3 for 13, both 2 Jose's. That's what threw me off there, Will. And then Bregman as well, 3 for 13. So a couple of 330 averages. And as far as I can tell, minimum 7 at bats. So I bet if I took that down to 1, there'd be a little bit more.
So they haven't seen him that much.
Not really, no. I know for a fact Nathan Eovaldi gets roughed up by a couple of these guys. I think Jordan is like 8 for 11 in his career. Yeah. So that'll be a matchup to watch in game 2. I am interested to see. I love everything you said about that bullpen. And obviously, Javier, get over here in the offseason. That's going to be very interesting. Dude, I've been noodling around predictions in my head. I have a hard time. Listen, because just like what you said with Arizona going to Philly and how they're kind of facing a different animal, I feel identically. Is that a word? Word check with Will. Oh, dude, that's got to be a new segment.
Let's roll with it.
Word check with Will. Identically. I feel it's not. I said it again. I didn't like it. We're going to work on that. Okay. I don't know how you get a word into the dictionary, but this has been Word check with Will. Okay. I feel the same way about Texas coming into Houston. Not only because they got roughed up, 9-4 this year, but this is a team, we keep saying it, we're going to say it until it just doesn't apply. They've done it so many times in recent history. I was reading something about Altuve and Bregman. They've had 90 games in the playoffs since 2017. That's just a nutty, like your pulse rate doesn't even get up, not for stuff like this. So we'll see. Here's what I'm curious to see. Justin Verlander's looked pretty shaky to start his last few starts. It's almost like his first go around through the lineup. It's like the reverse of what the batters are trying to do. He's trying to fill it out. He's trying to find his way. And so if he can get through them one time, we'll see what happens. But it is like the hottest team in baseball versus like one of the most consistent. So I am super excited. Prediction-wise, I want to know 2 things. I want to know who you think's winning the series, and then off of that, your MVP.
All right, so prediction. Here's the thing. I've picked against the Rangers every series so far, and been kind of foolish. Fool me once, shame on me, or how the saying goes, fool me
Word
twice.
check with Will.
Shame on you, all that kind of stuff. Fool me 3 times. Well, that's not going to happen because I'm going to go Rangers in 6.
I love it.
I think this lineup is just super, super hot right now. I think that Evan Carter being at the middle, bottom of that lineup is a difference maker for Texas.
Yeah.
I also believe that Josh Young is healthy again, 100%. He's looked really good. Look, Houston's going to be such a tough out. You've mentioned it. They've been there so many times. They're such a great team. They don't have any weaknesses. I get it. But, man, this Texas team, they've shown me something. Baltimore, let's not kid ourselves. Baltimore had the best record in the AL for a reason.
Yeah.
And Texas dismantled them. And Tampa's a team that's normally built kind of for the postseason. They dismantled them too. And so I really like what Texas has got going on. I think they have just enough starting pitching to go along with that lineup. I think Bruce Bochy is going to work his magic, finagling the bullpen the way he does. And I just think the Rangers are going to outslug the Houston Astros, win it in Game 6. My MVP is Corey Seager.
Oh, I like it. He's done it before, too. He won NLCS and World Series MVP for the Dodgers in 2020, which you don't see that often.
There's not too many super clutch guys in the biggest of moments, and he is one of them.
Tom Brady, too.
Yes.
He's also. Will's like, yes, also that applies. Let's see. Bruce Bochy, real quick. 14 of 15 playoff series. His last 14 of 15, he has won in the playoffs.
Unbelievable.
That is a nutty stat. I saw that on the Fox thing. I was like, that cannot be right.
I don't think people understand how just amazing that is.
Yeah. I think it's just like, teams, there's teams that know how to win in the regular season, teams that know how to win the playoffs.
Yeah.
Rangers had a chance to lock up the division, and they kind of didn't. They kind of choked, and for a lot of managers, that could have been just a major tripping point. But, with Bruce Bochy, it's got to be like the most dependable, stable. All right, well, let's just buckle up and go to Tampa and show them who's boss. And so, dude, I like what you said. That being said, I'm going Houston in 5. I think
in 5, okay.
In 5, because here's the deal, man. I just don't like the fact that I don't know who the Rangers' 4th starter is. I mean, you got Heaney, you got Dunning. They've been Dane Dunning. They've been like piggybacking those guys, and
that is their 4th starter.
Well, I know, but it's just like
it's Deanie.
It's Dandrew Deanie stepping up. Oh my gosh, all the ways off the rails right now, guys. And I like the fact that I feel like Dusty, he's going the we're going 2 innings and then we're going to take you out, because that's what he could have done with Urquidy. I mean, I think it was managing at its most purest form.
Yeah.
He let him out there and said, okay, how many outs can you get me? And he watched him, and he gave up a run, and he gave up another run, and it wasn't like, oh, you gave a guy on base, let me go to my bullpen. I think another thing with Houston that I don't think you can say, well, I know for a fact you can't say about Texas, that bullpen has so many pieces.
Yes.
That like they know where they go. You know where Montero
I think that's
goes.
Houston's biggest advantage in the whole series.
For sure. And then, of course, it's the opposite in Texas. And what I like about Bruce Bochy, and if they beat the Astros, it's going to be because he's been able to do what they've been able to do, which is to pare down to that rotation, piece some of those guys in the bullpen, and make it to where you don't have to have these. I mean, they're hitting the ball so well that it hasn't been like, fingers crossed moments. Some of these final scores have been closer than the games actually have been for the Rangers. But that being said, I think a guy named, let me see, your dad, your daddy, my daddy, Yordan Alvarez. Okay, he's going to be the MVP. Okay, so that's what's going to happen. He's going to hit 10 home runs in 5 games. It's going to be absolutely unbelievable. He's not hitting 10 home runs, but, dude, he hasn't not hit one, right? Except for Game 4. I don't think he went deep.
Yeah, but no, he's been awesome so far in the playoffs.
He's averaging 1 a game. So, as long as Altuve can field the ball at second base, he's going to be my heartburn player of the year in the playoffs. I like Houston at 5, but I wouldn't be surprised if the Rangers hit something spectacular. You ready to move on, brother?
Let's do it.
Let's do it, baby. Let's talk about this one. This is exciting. It's like old versus new, It's very cool. Arizona Diamondbacks versus the Philadelphia Phillies. Dude, another kind of moment where a lot of different fronts to attack this from. I mean, Can Arizona stop Bryce Harper and the red hot Nicky Castellanos, Citizen Bank? They're going to get 4 there. Is that the best home field in baseball? The season series was won by the Phillies 4-3. Dude, what grabs you with these groups?
Man, it's obviously 2 hot teams, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think I don't know. I think that really what it boils down to is, can Arizona's young guys figure it out really quick in such a hostile environment?
Yeah.
It's one thing to go into, Dodger Stadium, but it's going to be a totally different ball game stepping into Citizens Bank in Game 1.
Yep.
And I tell you what, man, Philadelphia probably never would have imagined getting home field in the NLCS, right? Because they're a wild card team. So,
yeah, that's true.
Right? So here's kind of what it boils down to me. I think obviously Arizona's young stars have to shine, whether that's Carroll, Gabriel Moreno, Christian Walker needs to have some big hits. Like, you can't have just one guy like trying to carry the load for Arizona. It's got to be everybody to beat this team.
Yeah.
And I think Zach Gallen and Merrill Kelly and Vaught, whoever they throw out there, they have got to be special.
Yep.
I'm not talking about they've got to be good. They've got to be special, because this Philadelphia lineup is clicking. And, man, I said it. Playoff Zach Wheeler, man. It's like a flip switches when he gets into the playoffs. And not that he's a bad pitcher at all in the regular season, but, man, in the playoffs, he is something different.
Yeah.
I want to give a lot of respect to the Diamondbacks, because I think they're a really good team, and I think their future is incredibly bright.
Yeah.
But if I'm making a prediction on the series, I'm going to say Phillies in 5. I don't think Arizona's winning a game in Philadelphia.
Okay.
I think Philadelphia will figure out a way to steal one in Arizona, and I think they get it done in 5 games. I think it's going to be a competitive series. Like, I don't think Philadelphia is just going to whitewash them every game.
Right.
But I just think Philadelphia literally has the edge in every aspect of the game, other than maybe defense. I think they're starting.
You like their bullpen better?
Yes, I think their starting pitching is slightly better.
Yeah.
Mainly due to experience.
True.
But I think their starting pitching's better. I think their lineup is better. I think their bullpen is better, because I think they have more weapons out of the bullpen. I think Seawald is probably a more dependable closer in the 9th.
Yeah.
If I'm nitpicking. But I think Philadelphia, if you watch them play, they have so many weapons that come out of the bullpen. They've got Strom. They've got Alvarado. They've got Dominguez. They've got Kimbrel. They've got Hoffman, who they really like. They've just got so many guys that they can turn to from the left or the right side, which is key, because, they're going to – trust me, Corbin Carroll, he's going to have nightmares about Jose Alvarado at the end of the series.
Yeah.
and so I just think Philadelphia has the edge in basically every major category that you want to break down. So I'm going with them in 5, and I'm going Trey Turner as the MVP.
That's good. That's good. Here's what we know about who's going to be starting and when. For right now, all we have is what Arizona's going to do, which is Gallen, Kelly, and then presumably Fat. I want to say Fat. I know that's not right. Very thin guy, handsome guy. He's gonna do great things in the game. Top prospect for them. I'm very excited that he's getting this. Dude, these are going to be meaningful playoff innings for this kid in his career. He's going to be able to reach back and say, hey, I did this in 2023. Dude, you know how much I don't like to disagree with you. I guess that makes the show, though, is when we can have some conversation about it. But I like Arizona's bullpen. And maybe it's, we were on the East Coast this week, so I'm staying up later than usual. Maybe I'm a little sleepy when I'm watching them. But, man, when the Gink Master, Kevin Ginkel, comes in the 8th inning, he's gross. Seawald was great. We talked about him. Former Ray, Ryan Thompson.
Yeah.
I mean, pump that into my veins. That dude has got like the herkiest, jerkiest motion.
He does.
But I don't want to look at it and try and hit it with a baseball bat. Joe Mantiply had a pretty subpar second half, but nasty as all can. It's just, to me, it's going to be about how can Torey Lovello deploy these bullpen arms, like these lefties especially. And they got this guy Andrew South Frank. I'm not kidding you. Game 2. Is it game 2? Big spot. This guy's pitched like all of 10 big league innings. He bounced like 7 straight pitches in the dirt. It was like stressing me out. Claire and I were watching. I was like, what is going on right now? This is the worst show. But I'm blanking on who he was facing for the Dodgers, but he swung at it, bailed him out. I was like, just don't swing. He's going to skip it up there. He had a pretty good showing. He got another, 1-out opportunity, lefty on lefty, and got the job done in game 3. So it's going to be about when can he, pull these cards to put maybe a Harper.
Yeah.
Or I don't know. You have to worry about Schwarber that much. I mean, he's just gonna, you're either gonna live or die with the home run ball. And he's a guy for Philly. It's like he needs to go. He's done very little in the playoffs so far.
Yeah.
A name that I read this morning and have not even thought about since the preseason. You know what I'm thinking? For the you're like, I very rarely do, Cody. Sometimes you just talk, and I'm like, what is going on? I'm just trying hard not to zone out over here. Rhys Hoskins. I heard theoretically he could come back on Monday.
Really?
Yes. Now, I don't know what kind of work he's doing. I don't know, the minor league season is long over. I'm sure he's doing some kind of work. It would be interesting to see, and I haven't seen the rosters come out yet for the championship series because, of course, the National League's on Monday. But be on the lookout, guys. I'm going to try and get this out on this Saturday night. I'm trying to get it out tomorrow. Be on the lookout on Monday because maybe that'll be a card to play. Dude, it's a lot of interesting stuff here. I do overall like the Phillies. I was going to say Phillies in 5, but I don't want to copy you, so I'll go Phillies in 6.
Yeah.
I do. There is a world to me where the young guns for Arizona just kind of take over, but it's going to have to happen to me in Game 1 because I do feel like it could just be steamroll city for Philly if they come out, and I mean it's just rocking at the bank like we keep talking about, but it's just one of the cooler environments. I'm hoping it goes Gowan and Wheeler. I think that'll be just like an incredible game. But right now, neither team has like a 4th starter listed. So are they going to go 3-3-1? Like, you're going to go through.
Very possible.
Somebody pitched 3 times in the series if it goes 7 games. I don't know. And that's the fun thing about October baseball. It's a chess game, and sometimes you got to react based on how the games go. Obviously, if you're down 2-0, you got to play a little differently. So it's hard to predict going in, but I like the Phillies to win this series. And for me, that'd be a repeat of last year, and that'd be kind of weird. For you, Phillies Rangers, that'd be kind of cool to see too.
Yeah.
Let's see here, real quick. I got to go with the Harp man for MVP. I mean, I thought about Castellanos, but I'm going Bryce Harper just because, dude, is the man.
Just like what we talked about with Corey Seager, though, Bryce Harper is as clutch as they come to. Like, if you're a Phillies fan and Bryce Harper's up in a key situation, man, you feel pretty dang good about it,
Yep.
And, man, the Phillies are just... You talk about a team clicking on all cylinders, man. Yeah. They just look really good. My only concern for Philadelphia is them being so high after this Braves series and just how everything seemingly went right outside of Game 2. Riding so much momentum. Do they come out somehow, some way flat in Game 1? Let Arizona steal one, give Arizona confidence from there. That's my only concern. Yep. If Philadelphia comes out and really steamrolls Game 1, I think it'll be a short series.
Yep. I like it, dude. Couple guys I want to mention, though. Obviously, we know, well-documented, Corbin Carroll. He's been absolutely awesome. Gabriel Moreno, and I know I brought him up, but I just want to talk about him again because he's not yet 24. He's still 23. This guy is special. What he does defensively behind the plate and obviously offensively, Arizona is leading of the 4 teams left, and I think all the teams in the playoffs. They are leading all the remaining teams in home runs. I think if they can keep on the homer train, things get much more interesting. But I love this kid, man, and he's like I don't want to say poor man Adley Rutschman, but he's like NL Adley Rutschman. He is he's a game changer. So I don't know, man. I look at the top 5 in the lineup for Arizona, and I like what I see. Maybe not more than Philly. I mean, Philly's got some boppers back there. I mean, when you have JT Realmuto and Nick Castellanos going 6 and 7, that's a deep lineup, dude. But I think we're both in the same boat. This is gonna be super excited. I mean, it's
gonna be lit.
I mean, it just is. It's just gonna be lit. Will anything before we head out, man? I got nothing else to say. I got Phil's in 6. Bryce Harper. He wants to avenge that World Series loss from last year.
I agree. It just feels like the Phillies are on a mission to rectify last year. They definitely got the team to do it for sure. But man, I don't know. I'm just looking forward to 2 really good series. Like I mentioned to you earlier, I'm honestly, outside of Houston, I'm excited to have some kind of what I would call fresh blood in the playoffs. I know Philadelphia went all the way last year, but it just, with that fan base, like, they are so fun in the playoffs. But to have Arizona in the Final Four and Texas in the Final Four, this is exciting. And I'm really looking forward to seeing how really those 2 teams respond. I feel like I know what Houston's going to do. I feel like I kind of know what Philadelphia is going to do. But let's see how Texas and Arizona perform in the brightest of lights, and I think it's going to be a 2 fun series for sure.
Yeah, it's going to be great. Hey, hopefully they go more than 5 games. You know, hopefully we're looking at 6 and 7 game series, because at the end of the day, the quicker these series go, the less baseball we get to watch, and that makes us sad.
Yeah.
You know, less baseball to talk about. So, yeah, man. 52 in the books, real quick. I know we don't have time for this because we're knocking a little bit over an hour. Guys, we've been putting these out once a week, and we're on episode 52. That means this is the 1-year anniversary of our first episode ever. And Will, that's pretty freaking cool, man.
That is.
I want to say thank you to you for, I don't know, man, joining me in this endeavor. 1 short year ago, we were both, well, you know, we were in pretty similar spots, I guess. You know, we were bus buddies, and you know, you had a younger daughter. She's grown. She's a year older than she was. Still crushing it. But it's just been an absolute joy to keep doing this every week. And you know, maybe here's the deal: we get to stay in touch. I think that's awesome. So it's just been a lot of fun, and we hope you guys get a giggle or some information. Hopefully it helped with your fantasy years. But yeah, it's been an honor. It's been a lot of fun, and I'm just really proud of my co-host. He's the man, and
back at you.
It's just awesome. Anything before we head out of here, and I get the tissues out.
I've got nothing, man. It's crazy that this is 1 year into it, and here's to many more.
Here we go, dude. Guys, we appreciate you. Do me a favor. If you made it this far, check us out on Twitter. Follow us. Give us a follow. Head on over to YouTube, Bringing the Heat, and hit subscribe there. We're at BTH_Cody and at Will Sism. I'm going to get on the Twitter game, dude. There's a piece of me that's like, do people really want to know my thoughts on every little baseball game? We're going to see. You know, we might pump it up a little bit. We love you guys. But until next time, thanks for listening to episode 52 of Bringing the Heat.